Sam Cordes, noted employment attorney. You are representing both Dr. Kenneth Melani and Melissa Myler in an employment matter that has to do with Highmark, the giant insurer, from which Mr. Melani was fired recently, or at least they said they fired him. You're looking into whether it was legal to fire him.
Yeah, well, they did fire him.
Okay.
There's no doubt about that. We know that's for sure.
All right.
And yes, that's right. I'm looking into whether it's illegal to fire him or not.
All right. According to the published reports, these two were having an affair. I'm certainly not one to judge on the basis of morality for personal and professional reasons. But if the reports are true that he went over to her house where she used to live with her husband, and he started a fight with her husband, who was still her husband even though these two had moved into a condo together, is there anything illegal about that, or is there any reason they could fire him, even if all that's true? He went over and he started a fight. Can they fire him because there's some morality clause? Is it legal?
Well, I mean, that's a real complex question, okay? And the reason it's a real complex question in employment law, why you do something is important. A, B, C, D, and E, and what you do is kind of way down the line. What happened was that they had a relationship. There was a spat on the porch out on a Sunday. They weren't at work or anything like that.
At Ms. Myler's former house.
That's correct.
Where the husband still lives.
That's
okay.
correct. My client got the worst of that fight. Believe me, if you look at the pictures, the other guy, there's not a mark on him.
See, now I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So the husband
beat the living caboodles out of Ken.
This is the internet. You can say shit if you like.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah, I understand.
But did. And okay, so there's charges filed, and they've been resolved. I mean, basically what the DA says is you go to counseling for 60, go to counseling, and after 60 days we drop the charges as long as you go to counseling. So that's the end of it. That's the end of that part.
So are you threatening to sue Highmark for firing Dr. Melani?
Absolutely.
Are you just hoping for a giant settlement and you guys meet in the middle?
What I'm hoping for, and what's going to happen here, like what should have happened back in 2003, there should have been diplomacy before there was a war. Well, that's litigation's a lot like that. We're going to talk to Iraq before we start war, unlike what W. Bush did. What's happened here is this: they had a relationship after she was hired. She wasn't hired because she was his quote mistress or any such thing.
And that's an important point that I've only found out about today through you and the Post-Gazette quoting you, that it was at least rumored or reported that she got the job because she was having an affair, and you're saying that's not true. She got a job, and then later the affair began.
Yeah, I mean, look, yes, that's exactly what happened, and the word affair is always, I just,
relationship.
Yeah, whatever we call it.
What do you like?
Well, I mean, we use the word affair and mistress. I mean,
I know mistress. That's almost sexist, isn't it? On some level,
not almost sexist.
Yeah.
It is sexist.
Right.
And more important, they were both separated at the time. Okay, so
see, I didn't know that.
So all you guys and women out there that are not, the divorce isn't final yet. You got to ask yourself, well, how are we going to characterize that? Now,
the overlap is always messy.
It always is. I agree. It always is. And the point is, does this happen in this country in 2012? My God, it does. Now, here's what happened though. They were friends of the family. The two families were friends. Her family and his family. I mean, not fast friends, but they had been at social events. She had run a golf tournament down in the South Hills area, the Myler.
You mean the rejected spouses had sort of learned to live with it on some level?
Well, no, that's not what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Look, this isn't about what happened between two families, and this isn't what happened about two people in their personal lives. This is what Highmark did to these people. But just to give you the background, I mean, what happened here was they started having a relationship. It was a month or so after she started working there, so it wasn't an immediate thing. The job she got was not because of him. If it is, she got the bad end of this because she was on the lower part of this pay scale of that job classification. She was doing a good job from all reports. Her boss had no problem with her performance at all.
Didn't you think the Post-Gazette, some of the reporting made it sound like she was mediocre at her job, even if whether that was true or not?
Well, I mean, it's the early stories in the Post-Gazette. Yeah, they're quoting people that don't, of course, I don't want my name to be used, but by the way, whisper, whisper, whisper. The point is, her supervisor never told her there was any problems with her work performance. And then what happened? This was in Thanksgiving time, in that general time frame. In February, and let me just back up a second. Dr. Melani fully disclosed the relationship to members of the board. This wasn't this, we're sneaking around and everything doesn't know about this.
Isn't that weird?
Well, isn't it weird? Is it weird or not? I mean, the point is he didn't want them to get blindsided by things. And look, he was acting as a responsible executive.
Yeah, I suppose at least he wasn't sneaking around. Yeah, right.
I mean, these do create, they create issues. Anytime there's dating in the relationship, in the workplace, it creates issues.
You've taught me before, in past interviews, about a sexually hostile work environment.
Yeah, this wasn't one of them.
If people were made to feel uncomfortable by their affair once they became public, because as I understand it, they weren't hiding it after a while, could that constitute a sexually hostile work environment?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And the law is pretty clear on that. This was a consensual relationship in every sense of the term.
Although he would be her ultimate supervisor, yes?
Yes, he ultimately supervised everybody in the company, but he did not supervise her, and he kept out of her. He kept out of her thing because she was way too low level. I mean, the point is, I know that I run my own business, and my gosh, I don't have enough time in the day to become involved in what's done by a lower level. I just don't. There's just not time. But what happened is in February, he's approached by some members of the board who tell him fire her for no performance reasons. Just fire her. It doesn't look good. Okay. He said no. He said, in fact, no. That would be a violation of the sex discrimination laws. We're both in a relationship. You want me to fire her? He's fired 3 months later, or 3 weeks later. Pardon me, not 3 months later. 3 weeks later. That's the timeline of what happened here. Now, in the meantime, there's this thing where he's charged with a very minor misdemeanor, and it is. These happen.
But is there some morality clause that says you can't go get in a minor scuffle even if you get the worst end of the deal because it'll embarrass the company?
I mean, all his contracts are in his desk at his work, and that hasn't come over yet. But
so you're going to review all? You're still reviewing all of that?
Absolutely.
All right.
But here's the interesting part on that. Possibly there may be clauses like that in people's contract. He was never told, "We're firing you because you violated the morality clause," or "We violated this." He was told, "You were being fired for cause." Period. That's it. Now, if you're going to fire somebody because they're wearing a field jacket today, why don't you just say, "We're firing you because you're wearing a field jacket today"? No, that's not what happened. Why didn't that happen? I suspect that why that didn't happen has to do with him complaining about how she was treated.
She thought she was going to be fired, according to published reports, and sought legal advice on how to end it smoothly. Okay. Was that with you?
No.
Okay. Whatever. Another lawyer. So
it would have been a different one.
Don't worry about it. But they can't just fire her either, right? She didn't do anything wrong, according to what you're saying.
She did not do anything wrong, nor has anyone ever said she did anything wrong. But they wanted her fired, and this came from a very high level, and in fact, Human Resources was involved in it.
So does she still want out and is hoping to negotiate a nice package on the way out as well, or are you not revealing that?
Yeah, right now she's working, and I'm representing her, and so
all right.
Ball's in Highmark's court.
This is a humdinger of a juicy little scandal, though. No?
Oh God! I just did my pig thing. I'm trusting you on editing this. The reason it's a humdinger is
you're not laughing at the scandal. You're laughing because I said something stupid like humdinger.
You said the word humdinger.
Exactly. People don't use that word.
I haven't heard that since back when I was young, and I kind of like it. It's a great word.
Yeah.
Who was it that used? Nuke LaLoosh in
I just got a nice humdinger the other day.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Look, the reason it's created the brouhaha, there's a word, was, Highmark, it's because of what Highmark did. Okay? This is a minor issue until Highmark made it into more than it needed to be. And that's the reason. Now, why Highmark did that, you're going to have to ask that to Highmark.
So Highmark might have been able to fire him, but not for the reason they said they fired him.
That's employment law in a nutshell, John. You can fire people for a lot of reasons. You can't fire them for the wrong reason.
So they might end up both making out like bandits. Who knows, despite the short-term embarrassment.
I don't think you ever end up like bandits in these because the short-term embarrassment is very. I mean, it's
huge.
This is huge, and it's an effect on both of these people's lives that need not have happened if people would have stopped and thought about what they were doing.
Well, I'll conclude this pretty quickly, but the board members, they wouldn't seek advice from an employment attorney like yourself or somebody before firing him. apparently without justification? Well, you don't have to speak for them, obviously. I'm kind of, if it's this big a deal, I'm kind of surprised they didn't have their ducks in a row.
John, let me tell you something about the legal profession. I tell my clients things all the time, and you know what? They don't listen to me sometimes. Drives me crazy, and I'm sure, I mean, I feel really bad for Tom Van Kirk, who's their new chief legal officer, and he started his job on March 15th.
Oh my God!
Interesting thing to walk into. But I mean, I don't know. I have no idea what if they did or if they didn't. What I know is that they approached my client. He said, "We're not going to break up, and if you want me to resign, I'll resign." They said, "No, fire her."
All right. Well, perhaps we'll try to interview you again in a few weeks and see where we are on this, if you don't mind, or we'll find out where you're at then.
There may be we'll either resolve this or we won't.
If I'm ever embroiled in a high-profile sex scandal in which I lose my job or suffer something, will you represent me pro bono?
Oh, of course not pro bono.
All right. Thank you for an honest answer. Sam Cordes, employment attorney.